Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Afternoon Tune. I'm your host, Nick. With me is a very special guest. It is Brandon.
Hey, always happy to be here.
All right, we have a great show for you people today. So Brandon and I were huge fans of the video game The Last of Us Part 2. We actually covered it on our channel a while back before season 2 premiered, but now that the season's wrapped up to, I'd say, kind of mixed reception, finally had a chance to watch the whole thing and, really sit on it. And we're going to come at you with, the only opinion that matters.
Yes,
Mine.
exactly.
The only one you can rely
on. The only one.
Wear it. We also got another review for a Shudder original movie called Dangerous Animals, starring Jai Courtney, where he plays a serial killer who uses sharks as his weapon.
Yeah.
That just sounds like give me the money, right?
Yeah, I'm already seeing it.
Like that's shut up and take my money kind of elevator pitch territory. But yeah, that has a great director behind it. It's Sean Byrne, who directed The Loved Ones back in 2015. Stars Passy Harrison from Yellowstone and from Tacoma FD, as well as Jai Courtney. Yeah, we'll be getting into that later. But Brandon, where can the people find you?
Yeah. I am honestly more social on Letterboxd than any other app at the moment. So you can find me on there, Brando, not Marlon. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't even want to plug that other hell site at the moment.
oh, you mean the one where mommy and daddy are the girls are fighting?
The girls are fighting constantly.
Yeah, but here's Brandon's profile for all of you on here. You can check him out at Brando, not Marlon. So one of my favorite follows on Letterboxd. You got his 4 favorites. All of Us Strangers, Love Lies Bleeding, Moonlight. Some impeccable taste.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple recent reviews. It's been early in the year. It's always kind of like slim pickings for what's out in theaters, what's available on streaming. This kind of like up until like midsummer, I think, is when a lot of studios and companies actually release stuff that people wants to see.
Yeah, it's like every week now where it's like at least something like that you want to check out.
Yeah, and we're hot in the summer movie season now, so it's like this 28 Weeks Later comes out this week. How to Train Your Dragon was last week, which was shockingly good.
Okay.
I wasn't on the review for the channel, but it was one that I was like, okay, I'm kind of burnt out on live action remakes.
Yeah.
These are like completely soulless endeavors that are just made to make money, and I can say for How to Train Your Dragon 25, it's not soulless.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of that.
That's all I need.
It's because Dean DeBlois, he the director of the original movie and also directed the original Lilo and Stitch, he came back to direct the live action adaptation, and he actually, brings a lot of the warmth and heart that makes that story great.
That is so funny that like both that and Lilo and Stitch coming out around the same time.
Yeah,
same creator. So weird.
Yeah, but we've talked about Lilo and Stitch on this channel. It's like Ohana means family. Ohana mean give your sister up to child services so you can go to college. Yeah, that's not the message that you got from the original one, right?
Oh, that's no, not at all.
That's what I took away from the original one.
Oh my, yeah. Leave your family to follow your endeavors at any chance you
follow your dreams.
Exactly.
Your dreams and your dreams alone. But speaking of selfish characters, let's get to our first review of the night and talk about a highly regarded, at least with its first season, but one that, the second game, it had its fair share of criticism, and I think also some of that is justified with season 2 of The Last of Us. So The Last of Us season 2, it picks up 5 years after the events of the first season, where, you know, Joel slaughters an entire hospital of the Fireflies, one of the last remaining hopes for humanity, and does it in order to save Ellie, who were trying to make a cure for this new apocalypse, but making a vaccine would have killed Ellie. So he makes the selfish choice of protecting her. This picks up 5 years later. They're living in Jackson, Wyoming, have a safe community. We have some of Ellie's friends that she goes on patrol with. When events happen that lead Ellie onto this quest for vengeance into Seattle with this two overwhelming forces between the two of them and the infected and how they play into it. But I think the real crux of this season is the emotional fallout between Joel and Ellie's relationship. Because when we get to the premiere of it, Joel and Ellie are not in a good place. What did you think about that?
Yeah, no, like in that aspect, it does follow closely to the game where like we pick up, you know, 5 years later, but we're not sure where this relationship is. Like you said, like they're a little distant with each other. Like, in this show, like Joel is like, you know, talking to a therapist about it. Ellie is avoiding questions about it. So it's like you already have this feeling of what happened between them to like get them to this place.
And it's something that I think the game handled it a little bit better, because the entire fallout of Joel and Ellie's relationship, it was only implied at the end of the first game. And here we essentially start the game on the morning of Ellie going on patrol and leading to the inciting incident of the game. And here we do what the first season did so well and lead up to what will events that will transpire by getting to spend time in Jackson and getting to meet Joel's aforementioned therapist, who we mentioned when we covered the game was played by the wonderful Catherine O'Hara.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Love her.
On her, don't even make her sit down with me anymore. And what do I get for it? Nothing. She comes home, shuts herself in the damn garage, which I should never have allowed her to move into. And that's it. Not so much as a hello. I see her around town, gives me a nod like I'm a stranger or some asshole.
Tell you what. Let's try something different.
Well, 19-year-old daughter, she's acting toward me like every 19-year-old daughter has ever acted toward dad, ever.
Aren't you supposed to be validating me or something?
She's so good. She's a alcoholic, weed smoking therapist.
She is one of like the great character actors. Every time I see her in anything, she always brings life to it. Even in something that I was just met on, like Beetlejuice. I was like, okay, same. Catherine O'Hara understands the assignment. And she's great. And there's so much I think that the show does well, because in this show, we get hints of a character called Eugene, who was only mentioned and name dropped in the game. And she has a connection to Eugene that is explored, I think, much more here, and leads into one of the better episodes in episode 6, which we'll get to eventually. But another thing that I think the show does really well is build the chemistry and the dynamic between Ellie and the new cast of characters that we have. We have young Mazzino, who plays Jesse, and I think the MVP of the season is Isabella Merced, who plays Dina.
Yeah, easily the MVP.
Yeah, because Dina in the game, she is, I think, a great character in her own right, but we don't really get to spend much time with her besides like little asides that we see in, you know, while we're exploring Seattle, seeing how her and Ellie's relationship develops. But here we get a lot more with her. And I feel like we get so much of the chemistry that makes the relationship work.
I totally agree. Like, there's something about Dina in the show where, like just like you said, like we get more time with her, like aside from Ellie. Like in the game, she's really attached to Ellie at the hip for most of the time. So like we don't really get to see what she's thinking or what she wants and stuff like that. But there's some great scenes in the show, like particularly with her and Joel, like early on, or like just like her and other characters.
Even her character introduction, it's such a mirror of what Ellie and Joel's relationship was like in the first season and, you know, in the first game. It's like,
Hey, kiddo. Something go wrong out there?
Well, the main lines are clay, all cracked to shit and full of roots. We're not sure what we're supposed to do, and our foreman isn't foremanning.
Oh. Yeah, sorry. I'll be out there in a minute.
What you doing?
It's like
Fixing
even
these
like even him calling her kiddo. It's like, wait, but
Yeah.
Ellie's kiddo.
Yeah, you can, hold
It's
on,
like,
Joel.
Who the fuck is this bitch? Who the fuck
You
are
can
you?
have 2 kids.
And it's just Pedro Pascal in his adorable little pop outfit.
Yep.
He-
Them glasses,
I
man.
think
When I saw those glasses,
I think it's because it's Pedro Pascal. We kind of forget how old the character Joel is supposed to be because
Mhm.
he's like 61 here.
Yeah, right, exactly. But just seeing Pappy Joel or Pappy Pedro rather with those glasses, I'm like, oh gosh, I love this man. I can't help but love this man.
Yeah, and I feel like because this season in particular, it gets a lot of criticism because
Mhm.
full spoilers ahead because we have to talk about spoilers for the second game in
Yeah.
order to really get to the root of I think what a lot of people's critiques of this season is because the inciting incident of this season is really the death of Joel by Abby.
Mhm.
And it's I think the way it's handled here because we have the character Abby who's played by Caitlin Dever, and we said it before because in the game her play style is meant to be a mirror of Joel's, and thus she has that kind of like she's a ridiculously muscular character in
Mhm.
The Last of Us Part 2. They have a similar play style, even like the mechanics of like stealth are similar to Joel's. But here it's played by Caitlin Dever,
Mhm.
who is very much not that.
No, not at all.
But-
She's a great
but-
actress as well, but like,
Oh,
yeah.
she is a phenomenal actress. And even if I don't think that Dever has the physicality of Abby, which I think,
Mhm.
is fair to Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, because the body transformation required to do that is,
Yeah.
ridiculous and, very dangerous. You see, a lot of actors who, may or may not do various substances in order to get that
Yep.
look. And I feel like Dever managed to capture the rage of Abby, especially at this point in the story.
For sure. Like the emotion is there. Like even if I
Mhm.
may not agree to like how things are structured somehow, but like
Mhm.
just that scene we get with her where it's like, yeah, this one was just like she is chewing up every bit of this lines. Ooh.
Do you know how many you killed that day? 18 soldiers and 1 doctor. An unarmed doctor. You shot in the head. That was my dad.
And the show is right up front with you about Abby's motivation for hunting down Joel. And on one hand, I understand why, because you're casting a really big name in Caitlin Dever, one who's has a great career already. I think's already an Emmy nominee for Unbelievable. Great in Booksmart.
Mhm.
But I feel like spelling out her motivation up front is one of the mistakes of the season because at this point in the story, at least with the way the first game worked and how that story is told, we're supposed to hate Abby. We're supposed to see her as this ruthless monster who took, our dad away from us. We're supposed to see her as, Joel's murderer and nothing else. And I feel like giving her that dimension, it kind of betrays that part of the story, at least with The Last of Us, the game, at least with that, because, we have to talk about the structure of the game because the season 2 is taking that structure and adapting it to TV. So much of what works in the game is we don't see that other perspective. So by the time we get to where this season's climax is, we're not thinking about the havoc that we've wreaked. We're not thinking about who Abby is as a person. We're not thinking about her and her friends. And doing that here, I feel like it just makes the season feel a little scummier.
Yeah, That's a good way to put it. Like scummier, it just I don't know. Like it's so it definitely was a choice, and they did it intentionally to just understand Abby before we get to, of course, like a whole season about her. But like I feel like the way the game does it, and like I had trouble like just comparing it, but you're gonna compare it because, like you said, the structure is so similar. You can't help to. But the way the game does it drops you in playing as this character, not knowing who she is, who her group is, why she's there.
Yeah, because you're dropped in straight as Abby. We're just led to believe, okay, this is just a new character in the game. What role does she gonna play in the story? And then it's not revealed until Joel saves her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you see why she's there, and then like she just the shift in tone when she sees him. And then yeah, like you said, like until we get to the part where we are her and like the latter half of the game, that's I think really where like a lot of the understanding comes. And I think that was like probably my favorite decision in the game. And so I had a hard time kind of going through this season knowing Abby already, like since we don't see her again after those first 2 episodes.
Yeah, and I think if this show did anything well adapting, going from game to series, I feel like what the show does well is I think the show is, when it's at its weakest, I feel like it's just a great cover of a story that I love and have played over and over again. But I feel like the show did a really good job of showcasing the weight of Joel's death, especially on Ellie, because Ellie is a character that is very closed off emotionally, is very, impulsive, is very reckless. At least in this version of the story, more so because, we project a lot of our skills and our intelligence on Ellie while we're playing the game. But
Oof.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna die. You're all gonna fucking die.
Yeah, and yes, that's something that I think the show does really well with adding weight and stakes to characters' death. To an extent, and I hate doing this, but just to compare it to the game, which I'm doing everything I can not to.
Yeah,
because
it's hard. It's hard not to.
It is hard, but there is one great change that they made from the game, and that made Jackson a bigger part of the show, especially in episode 2. While you have this this man versus man story going on with Abby and Ellie, you also have man versus nature, which I think one of the highlights of the season, which is essentially this show's version of Hard Home.
Yeah, dude. They go all in.
Oh yeah, if you were complaining about not enough infected last season,
they're like, oh yeah, we got you
this time, boy.
All in one episode too.
It doesn't help that this episode is directed by an HBO mainstay with Mark Mylod, who's done episodes of Succession, who's done Game of Thrones, who's did one of my favorite movies a couple years ago with The Menu.
Oh yeah,
it's like, okay, you're gonna give him like the action epic episode of your show, and it's awesome.
It's pretty sick.
Even getting to see Tommy play a bigger role.
Jackson Hole!
Oof.
Push! Push! Go, go! Push!
I love this.
Okay, this is cool. Yeah, this is
It's cool,
cool.
cool.
I don't care who you are. This shit is awesome.
It's awesome. Man, the music too, man, oh, so good.
Yeah, see HBO. That's how you fucking film a war against the undead.
Come
That's how
on
you
now,
fucking
you
do
guys.
No,
I can see everything.
I'm still mad about Game of Thrones. I'm still mad about Game of Thrones.
I understand. You should be, understandably.
I'm still mad about that shit.
God
But
damn it.
yeah, it's like everything is in such clear detail. You stick with characters that you know and love in this town. At least with Tommy and Maria,
Mhm.
who have a big roles in this, and it adds a little bit more stakes to Joel's side of the story because he's rescued Abby at this point. He's desperately trying to get back to Jackson to help, but they're too far gone. They have to find shelter because they also have a horde on them.
Mhm.
And
It's
just
it's real good.
something that Mark Mylod does so well as a director is that he knows how to build tension even in the most like seemingly innocuous situations. Like he did so well in The Menu.
I agree. Like when before the horde even comes up, like in this episode, like you see like only what you think is a lot chasing Abby and Joel, and then like you see like there's a bunch like frozen like under, and they start like of course feeling the other infected around, and just like them slowly rising up is just such good infected apocalypse zombie stuff. I just eat it up every time, especially in this like the setting and like you said, getting the whole of Jackson like to defend their town. Like we don't get a lot of Jackson in the game. We're there for a short period of time.
Yeah, it's basically
nice
just
seeing more.
it's basically just set dressing in the game and not something that we really get to explore the town as a community, which I think the show does really well in the third episode, because the third episode is very much the call to action for Ellie and Dina to go on this revenge mission, which I think is something that the show does really well, in that it does a good job of highlighting that Tommy is a very different character to who he was in the show in the game.
For sure.
Because he has a son. He has more responsibility in Jackson. He has to think about the greater good versus what he wants. And Ellie is a character who, at this point in her life, is not capable of that. And it does a good job of showcasing the full extent of Ellie's flaws.
Totally agree. Like in the game, Tommy is just as like almost gung-ho as Ellie about going to get revenge.
Yeah,
but here,
even more so, because in the game, Tommy goes first to like spare Ellie from that burden of going.
But like here, like you said, like he has so much more responsibility. There's a council that makes these decisions like together. Like they even hold like a town hall, like to like see what they should do afterwards. And like you said, like what we just saw, like Jackson is a lot more affected than just
it adds weight and a reason why more people wouldn't be on her side, because what does as much as we love a character like Joel, as much as we the audience loves him, and loves Pedro Pascal as much as Ellie loves him, it doesn't erase what he did in the previous season. It doesn't erase who knows how big Joel's body count is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even just like even more so like with the game and the show, I think there's less time after like Joel's death to like to the revenge story. Like here, after the initial attack on Jackson, I think there's like a time jump, if I remember in the episode. Like there's a couple months.
Yeah, and in the episode there's a couple months because Ellie like gets seriously injured in the fight, which there are things that do get changed when adapting from video game to show. In video games, characters are much more durable than they are as humans.
Yeah,
But you break a
exactly.
rib, you're gonna be in the hospital for a minute.
Exactly. Yeah. And
You're gonna
so,
be in recovery for a while. So
mm,
it's like good to have that time jump in that sense. And in the game, because it's a video game, because you have to constantly keep action going, otherwise, players are gonna get bored. You only get
yep.
this like very short sequence inside of Joel's house, and getting to rummage through his stuff.
Yeah. Just she like touches his gravestone, like goes to his house, and then like is almost just like, yep, revenge. We got to go. Tommy's
Mhm.
already gone.
Now I think that
Uh,
she's processing her grief, but no, she's just getting Joel's gun.
exactly right. Like here, Ellie has a lot more time to ruminate on Joel's death. Like she doesn't even really choose to grieve. Like she like lies to Catherine O'Hara therapist when she comes to visit her. It's just like Ellie is very much good at masking her emotions. Like that's one aspect I really enjoyed seeing Bella Ramsey play into this season. Like they're so good at like putting on a face, um, but also like still keeping that joy. Like we see a lot of Ellie still curious, still happy when she's with Dina, but at the end of the day, like she's on a fucking revenge quest, and like we do see that darkness come out of her.
Yeah, in spite of what she tells the entire council, because
Yeah, right.
because and this it's a great scene between her and young Mazzino before this
Mhm,
council meeting, because he's on the council. He's like a little older. He like taught Ellie how to fight, so she's
mhm.
like respected. He's on the council, and he gives her some solid advice. It's like, yeah, try not to speak from anger. Write your thoughts down, say them out loud, which good advice for public
Yep.
speaking. However, when the council gets to voting, she's not even close. It's like
No, yeah.
3 yeses and like 8 nos. And this scene that's
It's
hilarious.
cost me in ways that sometimes couldn't be undone. But I can't afford that right now because I know what I'm asking is a lot. I'm asking us to risk more people and resources and at the worst possible time. And I want everyone to know it's not because I want revenge. It's not.
It's not.
You
Mm,
sure about that?
is it though?
It's like, yo, dead ass chat. It's not about revenge.
Come
Dead
on,
ass,
chat,
fam.
believe me. But yeah, like even like later, Tommy goes to talk to Catherine O'Hara, and she's like, "Oh yeah, she's lying. She's full of bullshit."
Oh, this shit is bullshit. It's like
Bullshit.
I half expected somebody in the town meeting to just be like, "Who are you bullshitting?"
Yeah, right. Honestly, somebody needed to say it. Most of them knew, but somebody needed to say it.
But yeah, the show, for good and bad, you get to spend a lot more time with characters,
Mhm.
and I think one of the goods, at least, because the show's already been announced for a 3rd season, and to
Yeah.
really tell the story of The Last of Us 2, you have to get both perspectives, and I think one of the great additions is you have a returning character from the games of Isaac, who is played by the
Mhm.
wonderful Jeffrey Wright.
Oh my god, yes, dude. Because I feel like we did not get a lot of him in the game as much as I wanted to, at least. But here we get, yeah.
You get one of the coldest moments of the character in the game with another HBO alum.
Yeah.
Isaac.
You hammerhead.
Just
Oof.
the nonchalance,
Just cold. Just
the
cold.
pure lack
So good.
just the pure lack of chalance, and so much of that because earlier in the scene you got Josh Peck, who plays another Fedra soldier, who's bragging about the time he just assaulted a bunch of just citizens living in Seattle.
Yeah. Jesus, it's a
And you
great
get to
scene.
see
and-
you get to see more layers to Isaac than you do in the game, where at one point he was a freedom fighter. He was
Mhm.
a offshoot of the Fireflies with the WLF.
Mhm. Yeah, and then like we see how much has changed, how much can change in time with him straight up kind of torturing that dude and talking how great pans are, stainless steel pans.
It was like,
And it's,
yeah,
it's so good.
yeah, I like cooking as much as I do. I'm, not really, particular about, the tools I use, but the way he was like glazing up what was it that he called the Mobile?
Yeah,
Like,
right. The way he says it.
like in torturing a guy with it. It's like, it doesn't retain heat, but have Mobile. You,
Oh man, use Mobile. So good. I'm so glad they recasted him like just like they did with the actress Marlene from the first season. Because when you have just these great actors, might as well just use them again. They're that good.
and
So I'm
especially
excited to see more.
And in a case where with Isaac, you didn't really get to see much of him in the game.
No, not at all. Yeah, not
And
like
and
I
so
thought
much of
they
the
would.
show and so much of the show is about expanding the lore, recontextualizing things
Mhm.
that you saw in the game, adding new layers and depth of humanity to other factions you
Mm,
see. Even getting small moments with the Seraphites, who a faction
yeah.
that we get to know more of in the game. Yeah, even in that same episode with this this small scene, getting to see this sweet interaction between a father and daughter.
No one falling, all clear. Keep moving.
Good. Once we get resettled, teach you to whistle.
Why can't you tell me where we're going?
Because we don't know yet. The reason we're going,
I know, but why can't she just keep us safe?
the prophet. She's been dead 10 years, Constance. I'm gonna count on her to help.
But Ezra said the prophet is eternal.
Well, she is in a way. Prophet isn't magic. They're just people that see truths hidden from others and share that truth no matter what the cost. So it was with our prophet.
Mhm. Yeah, and getting to see new wrinkles into lore that was established, because we didn't get to spend much time with the Seraphites in the game, besides Yara and Lev more in Abby's segment of the story. And
Yeah, right.
that one small moment, it like really showcases the cruelty between the Seraphites and the WLF that you see later in that episode and in the next one, where we see the
Mhm.
aftermath of their conflict with each other.
Yeah, right. It's ruthless and like just like in the game, like you wonder like what started between these two factions to have them going at each other's necks like this, especially when Ellie and Dina drop into Seattle. They're like, what the fuck is going on? They're killing kids. It's very interesting. I'm glad to see more of them. Hope to see more like the Seraphites and the WLF, like just like we did in season 1, getting more of just like those groups.
Mhm. Yeah, and moving on to the next episode, where we get, I think, one of the harder moments to adapt in the game, where Ellie, is almost by chance stumbling upon next layers into her revenge mission for Abby, where
Mhm.
we have one of her friends, Nora, who in the show is played by Tati Gabrielle.
Yeah.
And it's like spores are introduced in this season of the show, which is a mechanic from the games that didn't get adapted, and I'm grateful that they are bringing it in here, because it adds new threats to the cordyceps and the infection.
Mhm. Exactly. Like I feel like that's such a interesting dynamic, and like especially in this scene with Ellie, where she's like, "Oh, I don't care about the spores." Um, it's so good.
Spores. We're breathing spores. We're infected. You killed us both.
Did I?
The immune girl, you're real.
Yeah. Where's Abby? Don't you know what he did? I don't care. You don't care. He killed everyone in that hospital, including the only fucking person alive that can make a cure for me. That was Abby's father. And Joel. Joel shot him in the head. That's what he did. I know. Where's Abby? Where is she? No. Where is she? Where is she?
Yeah, and yeah, that's one of the harder segments in the game to adapt. And full credit to Bella Ramsey because she, taps into a layer of rage that I felt like was, missing in earlier episodes of the season.
Mhm.
And
No, I agree.
before that moment in the hospital with Nora, she's kind of treating this like almost as a rom-com adventure with her and Dina.
Right? Yeah, I agree. Like I kind of miss seeing more of that rage that is so present with Ellie in the game. Like, yeah, there are moments of like lightness with Dina, or like her curiosity is still there, guitar scenes, of course, but like almost in the game, there's like uncomfortable moments where like Ellie is like so set on revenge, be like, I'm gonna kill every one of them, like it doesn't matter, blah blah blah. And like I feel like that was missing until, like you said, like this moment where we see it on like full display.
And I think a big part of it is that even Nora and like in the season finale, we get told that she didn't kill her, she just left her to turn, and that Ellie doesn't even intentionally kill anybody in the show. And I think
Yeah.
that's like kind of a mistake because in the game she is like a vicious little murder machine, and I think that is because the show kind of wants to have its cake and eat it too, where the show wants to tell the story of revenge and tell the story of how you lose everything going after this very selfish path like Ellie does in the game and turn her into, but it also wants to be realistic of a girl, somebody Bella Ramsey's size, you got to suspend a lot of disbelief that she could take on the amount of people that she kills in the game.
Yeah. And I totally understand that aspect, but like I feel like unless we get more in season 2, but like I feel like they were setting up for her to be a little bit more of a badass when we get that beginning scene with her like training how to fight and like taking down that big dude. And so like I was half expecting a little bit more violence from her part.
Yeah, but even the show kind of robs you of that because the like big guy says that right away. It's like, I got punched square in the face. It was like, I pulled it. It's like, okay, don't tell us that as the audience because you're trying to build up Ellie.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like they were afraid to get her to how violent and ruthless game Ellie is in the show.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, but when I was playing The Last of Us Part 2, the game, I was dreading playing Ellie. It was like I did not like Ellie by the time it gets to the third act of her story in that game. I was like, I would have turned back way before this. I would have turned back the second Jesse came into the rescue.
Right. And that's like the thing with like I guess the story in general, like there's so many chances for her to stop, for her to go back, for her to, quit. it's not worth it. Think about it a little bit, but like it's just revenge, revenge, revenge. She has not processed her grief at all.
And it adds a layer of tragedy, especially because the show again does so good at fleshing out characters and building us and giving us context and recontextualizing what we know about Joel as a person, especially with episode 6, which is the one that is directed by Neil Druckmann and is the one that adapts all of the flashbacks with Joel that we see in the game. It has the structure of this. Each segment is like a year of Ellie's birthday, and we get a great guest appearance from Tony Dalton, who is Lalo Salamanca himself playing Joel's father.
You know, when it's your turn, I hope you do a little better than me.
And for game players, just knowing where this story is going to go in its third season, where Ellie's character is going to, and the places that she goes, especially in the finale, it adds so much more tragedy to it. If it wasn't emphasized before, it was now. What did you think about how the show plays it?
I really enjoy that aspect, and just adding, like you said, adding that extra layer, getting that Joel flashback before the initial other flashbacks between the two characters. Just getting more depth into Joel and his father and like what he was about. I think that just adds like a layer to Ellie as well, because you are who you kind of you are who you are around with, and she spends a lot of her time with Joel, and you see a lot of shades of Joel in her, no matter what she wants to think about it. So yeah, I love that line that Dalton says, like, I hope you do a better job than me, and Joel passes that on to Ellie like later on. And like you say, yeah, this thing just becomes one big tragedy, especially when knowing what comes with all these characters.
And another change from the game, because in the game it saves the last conversation between Joel and Ellie until the very, very last moment. You are, I won't tell where you are in the game story, but it's like the very last bit before Ellie finally crosses that final line crosses the one line that she has left. And we don't get to see the last conversation she has with Joel. And the show condenses the flashbacks together, so all of it happens in the same night. But it is this beautifully acted moment between Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal.
For the readers. Could they have made a cure? Did you? And Marlene?
And it's continuously harp on the comparisons with the game Joel and show Joel, because I think TV show Joel is a much more, as a character that's much more in tune with his emotions, especially in the 5 years post the events of the first game. We see him in therapy talking to Gail, because this takes place on the events of the night of the first episode premiere, and we see the weight that holding this secret with Ellie is taken on him. You see the full weight of it, and so much so that he can't even say it out loud. And it's like this beautiful choice that I think Pedro Pascal makes And you see all of the walls crumbling down between him and Ellie.
No, yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, this is one of those scenes where I think I like it as much or like as the game. Like, in the game, like there's a little bit of time in between when Joel tells Ellie the truth and that confession on the porch. Here, like they combine
it's
it,
like
and I think
the
it pays
event,
off well.
Yeah, the events of the flashbacks, because there's a couple of years in between when and it isn't even that Joel tells Ellie, because
Yeah,
Ellie
she
goes
to
out
find
on
out
her own.
herself. Yeah,
Ellie goes and finds proof and catches him dead to rights. So it kind of takes
Yeah.
that choice away from Joel. But I feel like because suspension of disbelief versus what you can do in a game versus a show. I felt like that was a smart decision for the type of story that is being told, or at least the way that it's being told in the format of a television show. And we talk about what works in a game versus what works on television.
for sure. Yeah, and I think like you mentioned earlier, Eugene, like this all kind of stems from Joel and Ellie's outing to go and rescue Eugene. Like it's her first time on patrol. Joel finally lets her on patrol. They hear about Eugene and some other person getting like attacked, and then they find out Eugene's infected, and Ellie.
Eugene gets bit. He asks to be led to the gates to say goodbye to his wife, and this beautiful scene with Joe Pantoliano who plays Eugene, who in the face of death, all he wants to do is be able to say goodbye to his wife, and not for to pass on words to her. It's so he can feel some comfort. He's scared. He wants family, and something I think The Last of Us does really well is that neither character is really wrong here. Because this is a very dangerous situation. Eugene could turn at any point. It was like put so many people at risk, but Joel tries to do what he does best and tries to lie to protect everybody's feelings, and Ellie rips that from him, not for any altruistic reason, not because it'll bring Gale comfort, does it purely to spite Joel.
Yeah, because like on that trip that's when she was going to ask the questions about what happened with the Fireflies, but then she sees Joel make that choice, and she says like, you had that same look on your face, that same look, and she just knew. And I really enjoyed Bella Ramsey's performance in an episode when she's like, you swore, and like you mentioned, like when she just tells the truth in front of Gale, like it's out of spite. She's pissed.
And yeah, before we get to the finale, what are some of your thoughts on the criticism of Bella Ramsey? Because she has been getting I think ridiculous amount of hate online for how she's portraying the character of Ellie.
I think it's stupid. I feel like a lot of those complaints come from people who wanted Ellie in the show to look like Ellie in the game. That's why like they always like would talk about like casting like so many other people that like look more like Ellie.
Kaylee Spaney was like one of the names who I think would have been a great Ellie, but I feel like Bella is perfect. I feel like she understands this character in a way that even has the seal of approval from Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie in the video game.
Exactly, and I think just as like how great Pedro is as Joel and brings different like shades of him, I think Bella Ramsey does the exact same thing. Like I really enjoyed her performance in the first season, and even more so like this season. Like I think the casting people were absolutely correct when casting her for this. And
with season 1, I really loved her performance. I really felt like it is it's like it's like the Alien Ant Farm cover of Smooth Criminal. It's like it's a cover of a great song I already love, but it's also a banger. And here, I feel like what made her so great as 14-year-old Ellie, it's a little bit of a hindrance here with 19-year-old Ellie, with the way the story of season 2 is written to go, where is like because all they did with Bella Ramsey is they just like gave her a different wig and like let her wear more clothes that were a little bit more form fitting for a young adult versus a child in the first game.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is a lot of physical demands that I'm sure the HBO they released footage of her training, like going all John Wick, which I was very
Yeah,
excited
right.
to see, but we don't get that. And I don't know if
Mhm.
it's because Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann are really trying to not push the boundaries of suspension of disbelief, but
Yeah,
I feel like Ellie needed to be a much more active character in this story, because even
I agree.
the wins that she gets in her quest for revenge, it all happens out of circumstance. It's just
Yeah.
chance, really.
Yeah, like you mentioned, she does not kill a lot, nearly as many people as she does like through her 3 days in Seattle as she does through the show. Like, there's many moments where I thought that was going to happen, like during the news radio station scene. Like, I thought there was going to be like a shootout or like something back and forth there, or something going to showcase the skills that she's learned, like as she's grown. But like, I feel like if I like, it's probably one of my few complaints of the show. Like, I feel like they robbed Bella Ramsey and Ellie as a character for kind of changing that character and like how violent she is. Like, this is a story about revenge and like what it leads to and what violence leads to. And we don't get a lot of human on human violence from Ellie.
Yeah, and that ultimately culminates in, I think, one of the the climax of the season, of at least the emotional climax of the season,
Yeah,
where
for sure.
we get to the aquarium. She's like, this is the last place that she knows where Abby is, and instead of Abby, she finds Owen and Mel.
Yeah, which was already a pretty divisive scene in the game. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it's rough.
yeah, and I'm not gonna show the clip, but they make it so much more horrifying in the show.
Yeah, it's rough, man.
They add a layer to it that makes it so much more terrifying. And there's this clip going on around online where it's from the Last of Us podcast, and he's talking about okay, but let me circle back. So in the aquarium, Ellie, kills Owen, but accidentally kills Mel, versus in the game where
who's pregnant, right?
Mel's a character who's pregnant, who, tries to run the fade with Ellie, but, gets stabbed in the confrontation and, dies right there. Here, she shoots Owen and the bullet passes through him and goes to Mel. And yeah, I'm not gonna describe it because it's just rough to sit through, and I'm pretty sure explicitly talking about it might get us like restricted or something.
Probably,
And
yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, but Tommy and Jesse, they find her there. They they come rescue her, bring her back to the theater where they're all hiding out. Everything looks like it's gonna be copacetic. They're gonna, let this go, not out of choice, but because Ellie is literally out of options until we get, I think, one of the hardest scenes to watch, for fans of the games, and
Yeah,
if you like
coming.
Jesse as a character,
sorry. Oh man. Woo.
Stand up. Stand up. Hands in the air or I shoot this one too.
Just run.
Shut the fuck up. Stop. Stop. Just let him go. He killed my friend.
No, I did. I was looking for you. I didn't mean to hurt them. I know why you killed Joel.
He did what he did to save me. I'm the one that you want. Just let him go. I let you live. I let you live. And you wasted it.
Oof. See you next season.
See you next season, baby.
You gotta sit with that for about a year or so.
And
God.
I think that is, unnecessary, but it's a decision that when they were announcing that season 2 was going to be a straight adaptation of the part 2 of the game.
Yeah.
It's something that I knew was a possibility.
Yeah,
was a
right. I
possibility
pretty
that
much
they were
thought that they were
going
going to end it here.
But seeing it in execution, it brings a lot of the same complaints I had about the game to this season, because the structure of it is so closely tied to it.
Yeah.
You're essentially sitting for 7 episodes, because this is a shorter season versus 8, or I think it was 8 episodes last season. And you cut down the episode order, and now you're getting to this rushed climax, which isn't even really the climax of the story.
Yeah,
This is like the climax, and you're asking an audience to wait an entire year or so to get the other half of the story, which I think is, a very, very brave decision on behalf of, Craig Mazin, Neil Druckmann, and HBO. But as an audience member watching this, and, if I'm trying to put myself in the perspective of somebody who hasn't played the game, who is not going to play the game, I don't know if I'd be willing to tune into season 3 after.
Yeah. I agree. It's a tough ask. We live in a time with a lot of cliffhangers, a lot of wait till the next season, wait till the next movie. Who knows when that'll come out? And so yeah, it's rough. Like, I don't know if I would want to wait as well. Like, like just seeing that, I'd be like, dang, now I gotta wait for who knows how long. To see.
And something that I feel like is a problem with Hollywood and with a lot of streaming, a lot of television in general, is that a lot of creators will write something with the idea that a next season, a next installment, a sequel is a sure thing. It's guaranteed.
For sure.
It's like, this is going to be so well received that they're going to give us a next season or installment. And literally, how many examples of that have on the freaking funeral pyre that is the pop culture of the 2010s? Is like, how many YA movies and TV shows did we get canceled before the box office receipts came out? How many seasons of TV? How many Netflix originals only get one season?
Too many.
Half the shows I like on Netflix are probably canceled by the time I finish this sentence.
Yep, they're gone. Sorry, you can't watch them anymore. Or by the time I finish this sentence, it's not on Max anymore. They took it off streaming.
And something that really stuck with me is it was this interview with C. Robert Cargill, who is a former critic on Spill.com, screenwriter who wrote Sinister, who wrote Doctor Strange for Marvel, who wrote The Black Phone. He had this quote. I think it was either him or he was paraphrasing somebody else. It was like, whenever you get a chance to write something or make something in Hollywood, whether it be film, television, a book, write it like it is going to be the last thing that they will ever let you make.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice.
And I feel like with here, there was such this idea that a third season was guaranteed that they didn't feel like there was a rush to to tell the complete story, which is the biggest problem of the season. Even for the moments that I liked in this, it just feels so much like spinning wheels until we get the full story in next season.
I totally agree. Like, and I think it has to do with the shorter episode as well. But you mentioned it, like, it does feel kind of rushed. Like, it does feel like Ellie and Dina's Seattle trip is very quick. And I know, like, differences of the game, like, a game is definitely going to take longer, but like, I feel like there was, even in the first season, I feel like there were more moments to sit with these characters or to even explore different avenues. Like, we don't get any infected interactions in Seattle. Only like one Seraphite interaction with Ellie and them. And so, like, I feel like it was missed, even if you are going to do a straight adaptation of part 2. I feel like an opportunity was missed to explore more of Seattle, explore more of Ellie and Dina, explore more of the Seraphites. And I know that could be coming in season 2 most likely, but like I just felt a little bit underwhelmed with how fast things went once Seattle got started.
Yeah, and to me, at least with Ellie's story, that feels like even in the game, that was the weakest part of the story. It was like I was, waiting more for, when we would get Joel flashbacks or when we would get to the action in the moments between, different encounters. It, felt like the game was, very repetitive. But, getting to let's hear some of your final thoughts on this season of The Last.
I enjoyed it. I still enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say more so than the first season. Like I think the choices they made to differentiate the first season from the first game were like super strong and like kept me interested and surprised. With this season, I had a hard time even starting it. I was like, I'm more familiar with part 2 of the game, I would say, than part 1, especially after like replaying it recently. So like a part of me was like, okay, I know what to expect. I can wait to watch it. And while watching it, I did find it just tough. And like, we've been comparing it to the game and it's very hard not to, but there was just like a lot of things I felt that were missing, structure wise, pacing wise. It is still a beautifully acted show. Like we mentioned, Bella Ramsey and Pedro are amazing. Isabel Marquez steals the show. It is beautifully shot, great cinematography, but there's just like, just felt like something was missing. It felt like it needed that extra episode or 2, or just a little bit of like pacing, like structure, or even like maybe like not even do the exact structure of the game. Like you're following it so like on it. So, and like season 1 was like brave enough to like take some departures. So like maybe half of me was expecting more of that, but yeah, I just kind of felt myself a little underwhelmed. And like, I mean, that's not to say this is still a great game adaptation, like compared to the slop we used to get. But I think just the bar that season 1 set was like very high. Just the bar the game set even that like it was going to be a rough go to adapt this anyway. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand. Like I liked it, but I wanted to like it more.
Oh yeah, what would be your rating for season 2 of The Last of Us?
I'd say a stream it. I say like just a middle of the line stream it.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there. And it is, a very disappointing season, especially after how, just phenomenal I think the first season of The Last of Us is. It's one thing, experiencing the story of The Last of Us, playing the game for the first time, during COVID, and, hearing that, HBO is doing an adaptation. There's no way that this could be good. It was like, okay, maybe they'll just like do different stories in the world of The Last of Us, which there's so much you could do. But
for sure,
then they announced that Pedro Pascal is Joel. It was like, oh, so you're just doing the game, which, okay, why would I sit down and watch this story retold that I've already played through so many times and I already adore? And the first season comes out and it still hits those same emotional beats that I love so much from the game. It's this very beautifully acted story. And I have a lot of those same points with season 2. I still feel like the show is, very beautifully acted. I feel like Bella Ramsey is, phenomenal in this performance. Isabella Merced steals every scene she's in. Her chemistry with Bella, I think, is phenomenal. The new characters that get introduced, especially young Mazzino as Jesse, I feel like you get so much more depth with him versus his game counterpart. And even the casting decision I was kind of iffy on with Caitlin Dever as Abby. I still, for what it's worth, for as kind of clunky as I think this season is, I'm still looking forward to seeing
for sure
the next season, because I feel like so much more of the meat of the Last of Us story is in the Abby section of the game.
I agree,
and I can't wait to see what Caitlin Dever does with the material, with the, I think, much juicier material in that half of the game.
For sure. Even more Jeffrey Wright, like we mentioned, like we'll get like more of him hopefully in this next season. So yeah, I think it'll be fun to look forward to, but I am, just
Yeah,
a little bit cautious.
I'm more cautious about season 3 than I was for season
Yeah,
2. And
same.
for my final rating, I gotta give this a kind of weak stream it.
Yeah.
I feel like when the show thrives, it is in the second and sixth episode. It is
Mhm.
in, the hard home Jackson versus the infected and the flashbacks with Joel and Ellie. And
Yeah.
you definitely feel the absence of Pedro Pascal in the story, which, on one level you should, because he is such a
Mhm.
phenomenal actor, and his and Ellie's relationship is the core of the show. I just wish the episode order of this was longer so we could
Same. Yeah.
spend more time with Ellie and Dina in going through this revenge journey between the two of them,
Mm.
because it feels rushed, which I think
Yeah,
is the biggest problem of the season.
for sure. Right there with you, man.
All right, so that was season 2 of The Last of Us. What did y'all think? Let us know down in the comments below. But moving on to our next review, is like,
Mhm.
how do you feel about serial killer movies? You got a lot. We just had the official Friday the 13th come out with one of the goats with Jason
Mhm.
Voorhees. The man's he'll use anything. He'll arrows, machetes, sleeping bags, brute force, pitchforks, but shark.
What about sharks, though?
It was like you got to go pretty hard to use nature as your weapon.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, easy cleanup. I'm not a serial killer, but I assume.
Yeah, but Dangerous Animals follows the story of Hassie Harrison, who is a transplant living in Australia, who is a surfer girl who runs afoul of a serial killer played by Jai Courtney, who takes people out onto his boat in the middle of the ocean and feeds them to sharks.
And he's really
So,
into it too.
I feel like that's about oh, he fucking loves his he loves chum and using sharks, baby.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we said this before with Jai Courtney, because Jai Courtney, he was one of those actors that Hollywood was really trying to push in the early 2010s, trying to shove him into everything, but it always felt like he was a big block of wood until you got to see Suicide Squad, which he is ironically the best actor in that movie. And I feel like a lot of it was because he could use his real accent.
Oh man, yeah, it is. Yeah, because he's the best part. Like I feel like he has a lot more fun than any other actor in that first movie.
Yeah, and I mean this as the biggest compliment possible, but Tucker, who is the character that Jai Courtney plays, this feels like if this movie was made 10 years ago, would have been a role Nicolas Cage would have ate.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, this is a Nick Cage role.
Yeah, and you get so much of that in just the opening scene where you get him taking 2 tourists onto his boat and giving them, a shark cage experience that,
Mhm.
White people do.
Exactly. He even sings Baby Shark with them, to ease
Yeah.
their
And yeah, and it's such a phenomenally acted scene because it does
Mhm.
so much to build the tension. We know the second they say, "Oh, so nobody knows you're out here." I
Yeah.
was like, we know that shoe's gonna drop. We're just waiting for when.
Yeah. And it's almost immediate. Like the facade between happy-go-lucky Tucker, who takes you on a shark journey, to serial killer Tucker is like quick.
And right after that, during the opening credits, we're introduced to Zephyr, who's played by Hassie Harrison, who, some of you white audience members might recognize from Yellowstone. Also from Tacoma FD, the True TV Broken Lizard show that was canceled just recently, but I liked it a lot. And
Okay.
yeah, she's a drifter who is just living on the edge, just traveling Australia, surfing the waves. When she has a little meet cute with a real estate agent named Moses, who's played by Josh Houston, who they have their, little meet cute, but of course, she can't accept love. She's not ready for it.
She's different. She's not ready. She's damaged.
She has very firm and very wrong opinions about Creedence Clearwater Revival. So that's how you know
that's a big
she's
thing.
different.
That's how you know, you guys. She lets you know from the jump.
So I had a great time with this movie, especially hearing that this was a new film directed by Sean Byrne, who's an Australian filmmaker. He's done films like The Loved Ones from 2009, which is one of the most fucked up movies I've seen in my entire life.
See, yeah, you
And
told me
also,
that. It was like,
and
okay,
also The Devil Candy back in 2015, and this is his first project since then. And I'm surprised with how campy this movie is because you have Jai Courtney eating up that scenery every time he's in this, and it does it so well that he makes me miss whenever he's not on screen, because whenever he's not, and we're kind of stuck with the performance by Hassie Harrison, who I think is very good in this movie and is giving much more than this script will allow her. I just feel like she's a very thinly written character.
Oh yeah. No, like I mean, just like we were joking about, like she has grievances with Creedence, and she shit talks Moses a little bit.
And both her and Josh Houston are both absurdly hot.
Yeah, they're CW hot.
It's like they are CW. They got passed over on the casting for Arrow hot.
Exactly. So yeah, like it is a little thin, but like it plays into the stereotypes a little bit. It plays into the tropes of both shark movie and serial killer movie. But I believe Jai Courtney, of course, gets the bits to chew on than our other two actors.
Yeah, and so much of what I think this movie does well is with its tension building, because you have this very well shot, very gorgeous looking movie set on the ocean, which if you've ever followed any kind of behind the scenes of Hollywood, filming on water is a fucking nightmare because there's so many intangibles that you can't control. And the movie, it looks great. It's one of the bigger releases for Shudder. Sean Byrne, I think he does a great job of building tension, which this is like about the biggest nightmare scenario for anybody. It's like, yeah, you're in the middle of a boat, you take them below deck, and they can't say no because of the implication.
No, you said the word again.
Oh my god, this movie is basically just Dennis Reynolds.
That's all I can think about. It's the implication.
Yeah. But what were some of your thoughts on this?
As a fan of like Shudder horror movies, like this was on my radar like from like that first trailer, so I was very excited for it. Always a big fan of shark movies and serial killer movies, so I was like, oh yeah, two of my favorite things, why not? So yeah, I went in like kind of knowing exactly what I wanted, and it gave me that. I had a great time with it. I think Jai Courtney, like we mentioned, is great. He's channeling his inner Buffalo Bill, and he gets a lot of great scenes to just by himself, even like just to chew it up and just be very creepy and unsettling. But yeah, this is a fun movie. Like it's very just simplistic but effective at what it does.
And yeah, speaking of that simplicity and that effectiveness, because Zephyr, she's not an incompetent character. It's like she nearly escapes multiple times and is shut down, like on the brink of her getting away or something intervening. That hope is ripped right away, which I think Sean Byrne does really well in this, and something that if for those of you who haven't watched The Loved Ones, definitely check that out if you want to be scarred for life.
I want to. Yep, I'll do it.
But that's something the movie does really well with building and then escalating that tension. And making Jai Courtney feel dangerous this entire movie.
Yeah, because like there's like a moment like when she first gets on the boat and like she's immediately started trying to get out, like trying to like find some way to get out. And like you said, like every time like she almost does, it's like you want to hope for her so bad. Like she's a very easy final girl to root for.
To Hattie Harrison, I haven't seen a lot of her. I've only seen her really in like clips on my YouTube shorts for Tacoma FD that pop up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she's great on Yellowstone. I just, don't have the time or desire to watch it.
I'm not gonna watch that.
But yeah, she's a great final girl. I feel like her dynamic with Jai Courtney, I feel like that's when the movie's at its strongest. Even if a lot of the dialogue in this movie is very, wannabe edgelord type dialogue, especially from Jai Courtney.
Oh, for sure. He's kind of living in the past.
They're the most dangerous animals in the world. Yeah, I was a
You should see something as beautiful as that. That's the greatest show on earth.
It's that kind of dialogue, and this movie is cheesy as fuck, but damn, I had a good time.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at with it. And it's amazing. Shudder is always kind of good at striking that sweet spot of like just cheesy enough, but still an effective horror movie.
All right. What are your final thoughts on Dangerous Animals?
I had a great time with it. I went to the theater to see it with my girlfriend, and she loved it. She was a big shark movie fan. But yeah, like I had a great time with it. Like I mentioned before, it's exactly what I wanted out of this type of movie. I definitely need more roles like this for Jai Courtney because he is so fun to watch.
Just let the man. Let every character he plays be an Aussie.
Exactly.
Because that feels like it's the only time I've ever gotten where he's great in a movie.
Exactly. No more American accents for Jai Courtney. Australian only.
Okay, I'll give him Jack Reacher. That's the one I'll give him.
Fine. Fair enough. But this is fun. Like I was unfamiliar with Sean Byrne before this, but I definitely want to check out more of his movies like after this. Like it's got a nice style to it. Like it's a short runtime. I think it was like 90 something minutes or
it's 98 minutes with credits.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, it's easy in and out. I think if you're a fan of like shark movies, serial killer movies, high tension situations, you're gonna find some enjoyment in this. And yeah, like I think our final girl Zephyr is like a very strong contender. Like she is a fighter, and it was very fun rooting for her throughout it. And yeah, I just had a great time, and I think I would give this a super strong stream it, like a very much leaning on almost cinema for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there. It's like I'd seen the trailer. I wasn't expecting much. I heard that Sean Byrne had a new movie with Jai Courtney, and I wasn't expecting much. But then, sitting down in the theater to see this, I was like, damn, this is a really good time. It has a great look to it. It has this very sleek style to it. It has this phenomenal performance from Jai Courtney, who, why hasn't he played more, unhinged characters, unhinged Aussie characters before? Yeah. And he is so much fun to watch that you actively miss him whenever he's not on screen. Even, for as good as I think Hattie Harrison is in this as our final girl, I feel like the script is kind of really... The script and her character is underwritten to the point where she is bringing more to this than is what is on the page.
Yeah, for sure.
And that, is a good thing because, this is a very short runtime movie, but it keeps you engaged. It keeps building the tension, which I think any great horror, any great thriller should do. And this movie does such a good job of, building up your expectations for, oh my God, is she going to get away? Is she going to get away? Is this going to be it? That you're on the edge of your seat waiting for it. It's like, come on.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's so good.
And yeah, for that, this is one of the bigger surprises of the year for me. I had a great time watching this. I highly recommend seeing this in the theater or, checking it out when it comes on stream it. I think that this is a strong stream it movie. It's, a great thriller. It's like a great surprise movie. It's something that, it is very small, a very small scale, very tight, taut thriller. And it's a great time, but I feel like the script is kind of underwritten to the point where I wouldn't suggest going. I wouldn't, necessarily not recommend going to see it in a theater.
Yeah.
It's like, if you've seen everything else in there, yeah, check this out.
For sure. I think as long as you're
there are worse ways to spend your time and money.
Exactly. Right. You have a fun time with this.
Yeah, so that was our review for Dangerous Animals. And that is our show, people. Yeah, Josh and Dusk will likely be back later this week for reviews for the 28 weeks later.
Ooh. I
Oh,
haven't
sorry,
seen-
28 years later.
There we go. I'm gonna say I haven't seen Weeks.
Yeah, Weeks, it's good, but it's just not. It's not going to come anywhere near as close to as good as 28 Days Later is.
Of course.
Which
yeah.
it's a hard ask, and I feel like I'm excited because it's Danny Boyle and Alex Garland returning for this.
Me too. Been hearing nothing but good things, so I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's our show. Brandon, tell the people where they can find you at.
Yep, as always, I'm on the letterbox at Brando Not Marlin. You can find me reviewing a bunch of stuff, trying to at least review a new movie for every day this month. So we'll see if I keep that going.
All right, and I'm gonna send you out of here, but you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, Twitter, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube at The Afternoon Tune. You can find us on Twitch streaming, twitch.tv/Afternoon Tune, YouTube, Facebook, all The Afternoon Tune. And I'm going to send you guys over to this is Vivian. She's been on our show before a while ago when we reviewed Black Widow. But that is it, people. Do us a favor and stay tuned. All right, and we are out.
Hey.